We're calling the Selectmen's meeting to order at 7:05. Open session public meetings are subject to being videotaped. Your image and voice may be recorded. You have a 7:15 appointment, but we'll try to take care of some things in the interim. The first thing on the agenda is the Board of Selectmen's report.
I chopped it down to one page.
Nice.
Well, you can read it.
Mhm. No, that in itself that's, you know.
I didn't know we had a Twitter account.
We do.
And do you tweet on it?
Whatever goes up on Facebook automatically dumps onto Twitter.
That looks pretty good to me.
Okay.
I think this has changed what Mary sent around, but, you know, the litigation thing, Johnson versus Town of Berlin, that was pretty substantial, and I think, you know, that was a big issue, and it ought to be explained. That was basically a civil rights suit for close to $500,000 it cost the town, and I just think that ought to be in there. This is a little too light.
Well, why don't you write a piece for it and send it to Mary?
Okay, you,
But you need to do it quick.
Or I can, if you want, I could do 2 or 3 sentences
yeah, do that. Just ought to
Send
be
that
in there,
around?
the amount of money and what it was.
during the day tomorrow.
Yeah, send it around
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that takes care of that. Next, we have the approval of a motor vehicle 15, motor vehicle, just a minute.
The 15 and
15,
the 16.
yeah, fund, refund in the amount of $155.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have a motor vehicle fiscal 16 refund, the amount of $509.58.
Is mine in there?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
So I won't vote on it.
All right. Selectman Booman indicated that she's on here, so she recuses herself. I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I might point out that for having a car for 4 days, I was charged $5.
All right. That's the 15, that's the one you can sign.
How did you have a car for 4 days?
I sold my car to my daughter on January 4th.
Oh.
And they made me pay the $65 excise tax and then only gave me back 60, well, 59 something.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the car during the first days of January. Okay. We have here a bill of sale, title signature for the sale of the surplus Berlin Fire Department 2008 Ford Crown Victoria. We did this on
Municipal,
Municipal. What did we get for it?
$2,450.
All right.
Somebody that Mary knows in Shirley.
I'm a former air patrolman.
Oh, really? All right, so the motion is for the selectmen to execute the bill of sale
So moved.
and the title on this.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Should say retired patrolman.
And then we have the annual junk dealer's license renewal with restrictions for Berlin Auto Parts.
So move.
Second. Have we had any,
I had gone through that, Mary had asked, so we had 2 complaints over the past year. One was for a truck that was running, which was unfounded when the officer got there. It was not running, and actually the driver knew of the stipulations not to have it running. And the other was just a vehicle that was parked, and it was just a parked vehicle. Really have had no problems up there this past year.
okay,
Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
No other comments or questions? I'd take a motion to issue this license for another year.
So move.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye. So the next one is the Community Choice Power Supply Aggregation Plan, which is,
Is this going to take any time because we only have 2 minutes?
I can talk
Okay,
fast.
all right.
It's Colonial Power. I sat in on a 1-hour meeting with the DOER, and they went through the whole petition to them. And so the 2 articles that we have to sign, one is the DPU petition, which is what they're going to send to the DPU. It's kind of a summary. And the second one is the Competitive Electric Service Agreement, which is the one that we sat down and went through each section with the DOER guy on Thursday. And the only thing that got changed was we took out Eastern Standard Time.
All right,
So otherwise, it's the same thing that we signed previously.
okay.
And if this can get moving, we might actually get this going by July 1st.
Okay. All right, so we are then requested to sign a DPU petition for approval of this plan, correct?
Yes.
That's one piece. And then the other is to re-execute the contract with the slight changes you've indicated.
Yes.
Okay. We'll put those into one motion to approve the DPU petition and to re-execute the agreement.
So move.
Second.
Any further comments or questions?
Wow.
Okay.
You put a lot of time into it. It's a good thing to be doing.
We have an electric agreement right now with Hampshire Council that expires May 1st, so we're gonna go back to National Grid until this starts up. The town, that is.
All right, anything else? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we all have to sign this? The contract?
They only gave one signature line.
Yeah, but they have, they've typed in all of our names.
I know. Do you want me to?
We can sign next
Yeah,
to it.
we'll just sign next to it, each of us. There you go. We will, we now have an appointment. We will be going into executive session for the purposes of discussing the contract term and terms with the fire and EMS chief. This is under the section of the open meeting law that allows us to negotiate with non-contract personnel in executive session. But before we do that, and I know we have a 7:30 for the town, is there anybody here for anything that's quick that we can take care of before? Oh, okay.
He's here for the town hall.
You're here for the town hall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, you here for anything that can be done quickly?
Relative to campaigning at the transfer station.
Okay. We do have, did you guys, you got the email, right?
It's in there.
I do have a draft that we're probably not going to talk about tonight because people got it, but I think if you would like to see a copy of it, you're welcome to.
Do you want,
Okay, I can stop up and get a copy tomorrow.
I can email it to you, I can print it for
Yeah,
you
that'd
now?
be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yep. Yeah, I got the draft text out to people today. We won't do anything substantive with it.
It does not go through your Verizon account. I know. It does not.
Do you want to?
There's the contract for you. Okay.
And you're gonna resume open session.
We will be resuming open session and the roll call for executive
doing?
session.
Good.
Andrew, aye?
Boom and I?
Pickford, aye.
Okay. Okay, we're back in open session, and we have a meeting from the Town Hall Advisory Committee regarding the status of the 2016 Mass Cultural Council grant and other updates, I guess, with regard to the
Yes.
Town Hall project.
Yes.
You want to come up?
Come up.
How are you guys this evening?
Oh, just ducky.
We're just fine.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It was Spain wonderful?
Wonderful. Weather
Warm.
was good? Fabulous. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
So you got the
The
last
girls are
minute
good?
copies I
Yeah.
sent.
Yeah.
Okay, so the short, should I
You have
start?
it
Sorry.
somewhere.
It's on the
As far as
desk
I'm
for everybody.
concerned. You can start anyway, aren't you?
Mean. Who's the chair here? Is he the chair?
I'm the chair.
I'll
He's
wait
the
till-
chair.
I'll
Yeah.
wait till you give me the
Paper,
nod.
so to speak.
I was in the appointments for this one, all right? You said it was on the table?
Uh,
Okay,
Ready?
we're ready.
Okay, so we're here because we learned recently that the Mass Cultural Council will not announce their grants or decide on their grants until mid or late May,
Okay,
which is after the town meeting.
yep.
So we met to discuss how to word the article. And we have a proposal to make. And that proposal is that we, and the wording, you'll have to word it, but basically, we would like to propose that we ask the town for $950,000, which includes 426 from mitigation, 426 from the grant, and 100,000, up to 100,000, which we really don't think we're gonna need all of, from free cash or whatever the finance committee wants to do. And so the article would be written that it would be contingent on receiving the grant.
So the other.
Motion. The motion.
The motion, sorry, I don't have my words right. The
so
feeling,
the motion under it would say that the expenditures of the additional amounts were contingent upon receiving the grant. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That- all right.
Yes, but the other, the mitigation, we were wondering in the part of our discussion, along with that, we was wondering if we could, the mitigation money that has had a positive report, we were wondering if, in case we don't get the full grant,
Mhm.
or the grant this year, what they do is they give us feedback on the grant, and so we can readmit.
Mhm.
So it was, if it possible, we would like to have a positive, if, at the very least, a positive vote on the, or at least your
The commitment of
recommendation,
that
the
amount.
commitment of that amount, even if it had a sundown of 2 years, so that we could tell them, the state, that we do have this backup.
That much committed.
Because we
That
feel
much
like we could
committed.
call the next day and say, hey, we got a match for it, and that would influence them.
No, I mean, I think we could check with that, but technically,
Yes,
that
that's
is
what
in
we
a
came here.
gift account of the selectmen. The selectmen can spend that. I mean, we actually, under state law and everything, we could spend the whole amount here tonight on something, but, you know, we would expect people wouldn't re-elect us if we did that, because we had said that we would go to the town and put this through the budget process. But to my way of thinking is that if we have that motion and the town has approved that commitment, then I don't see any reason then if, again, if the motion is appropriately worded, and I don't see any problem with then the selectmen indicating that that money, is committed against the contingency of receiving the grant, because we have the power to spend that. And we have the guidance that we had said that we would get from the town meeting as far as spending that. I don't know how other people feel about that.
I mean, I don't disagree with what she's asking, but the 424, we can, if it's positive, then we have the ability to spend it as the selectmen. The other piece that the finance committee said was 100,000 from free cash. And so if you're gonna do that, then you wanna make sure that that money is taken out of free cash and put somewhere so that it doesn't stay in play and we double spend something.
Well, it would be voted under a special article. I'm thinking this through.
Right, right.
It would be just think, if we didn't have any of the rest of it, just take all the rest of the stuff away, and imagine all you needed was 100,000 under that article, because let's say somebody came through with, a private contribution of that amount. And if we were to vote 100,000 out of free cash under that article, then that would be special article money
That would sit there.
that would sit there. I mean, it seems to me,
Would still be open
until it's closed, or until it's
closed.
That would be part of that ritual we go through periodically, right, of
Right.
closing
My
out.
feeling is that if that, I'm, again, trying to simplify it and say,
Right.
let's take the other unrelated pieces out. It would seem to me that would just sit there until it was closed out. Or spent, obviously.
So how would that be worded? I'm just thinking, I think the wording is gonna be important
Mhm.
Right.
so that occurs.
And we have come to you first, so the FinCom doesn't, we've come to you first because we're advisory to your group, but we need to,
Inform the
Inform
FinCom,
the
whatever we
FinCom.
decide tonight, we'll tell them and maybe go on Wednesday. We're happy to go, or whoever, you could go.
Okay.
Because we hope they vote.
Yeah, I mean, it would
Favorably.
seem to me as though if you would have a motion, and again, we can sort of clean up this language a little bit, but if
Right.
you had a motion that with respect to the town appropriations said that you vote to request that the selectmen spend 424,000 out of the
426, actually.
426, whatever, out
In
of
case she's writing it down.
out of the
Highland Commons.
out of the particular mitigation fund, and allocate from free cash the amount of $100,000, the expenditure of each of which is contingent upon the receipt of the grant. Then it would seem to me that, again, on our side, we're taking a direction, a request, so we have it available to spend, and it seems to me the 100,000 under that thing just becomes special article money.
Okay.
So, so you're looking for 950.
We do have to check with
Up to-
town council about that, the contingency on spending, but
Yeah.
it seems to me that it can't be the first time somebody's voted money's contingent upon something like
Well, I don't
receiving
think
a
that-
grant or.
yeah, I don't see that as a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
this right here is our total project cost.
Mhm.
So we have already received and spent this much money.
Okay.
So that's about 100,000
Mhm.
that we've spent. So this leaves, right?
Yeah,
50,
125,000, yeah.
125,000. So that leaves this amount,
Mhm.
which is about 850,000,
Mhm.
right? So the 100,000 comes here, wherever I wrote that, here. I put, this includes a 3% increase in the construction costs.
Mhm.
Now, we had an estimate done a year and a half ago. So people tell us that that's low, that we will need more than that.
Okay.
And then we've also put in 11,000 for construction oversight. And people also tell us that that's low. So I don't think it'll be close to 100,000. We just put that number
Mhm.
because you don't want to say 10
Right.
and then you go back and it's 15.
Mhm.
I think it really would be closer to, 25 or something.
It would be up to. yeah,
We just said up to, because we don't know what construction costs.
The other piece of this is that the Finance Committee has sent a positive recommendation for the mitigation money plus the
100,000.
grant
Yeah.
as the way
Plus
to pay for the whole
100,000.
thing.
Yeah, so this really isn't
And
asking
they
them-
also
yeah.
sent one that was a proposal without the grant that would finance it with the mitigation money plus $100,000 free cash plus the balance from borrowing,
Right,
which they, if I'm correct, don't really recommend.
they don't recommend.
And so that's kind of where the 100,000 from free cash came from.
No, I-
We're looking at the fact that we're, as time goes on, it's getting bigger and we may not be able to handle it on the amount of money we thought it was gonna be.
Mhm.
So that's why the idea of trying to push that has come up.
Yeah.
But this particular sheet here,
Right.
that's the cost of it. This is the grant coming in. What if the grant doesn't come in?
Right.
How are we gonna fund it?
Then we have to come back
Then you have to come back.
to the town.
We have to go
Or
back
have
to
a
the
another-
special
town.
town meeting?
With
Because
an-
this will fold.
Either a special town
Yeah.
meeting or the next
Or the
annual
next
town
day,
meeting
yeah.
or
And
whatever.
then there's some in-between scenarios, which are, they give us a grant for less money. They could say, we're gonna give you, instead of 426, 300.
Right.
Again, that would require us to come back and devise a new plan
Right,
going forward.
right.
So
Look for another grant.
look for another grant, look for some alternative method. So what we're asking the town is, hey, this is, for the taxpayers, 100 at the most, possibly considerably less.
Yeah.
This time.
So
But- go ahead.
If we had gotten the information on the results of the grant by the end of March as expected, then we'd be, was it March?
yeah,
Yes.
it's supposed to be the end of March.
At the
yeah.
most.
We would
yes,
then
it-
be able to go to town meeting with whatever kind of a thing we could do based on what the result of that
Right.
was. But we don't have that. The best thing to do is go with the
Full
hope that
amount.
it'll come.
Yeah.
And we can't ask the town to finance it this way or finance it this way or
No, that's
at
right.
the same meeting, so.
No, and in fact, I mean, and I kind of was jotting down a possibility for this motion along the lines of what I had just said, and it strikes me as though it's very much the motion one would have made at the beginning of May if you'd known at the beginning of April that you'd gotten the grant, except for the contingent upon receipt of the grant,
Right.
which makes
That's right.
sense. So what I have had here, just as a draft, would be I moved this, the article's fine because we have that amount out there and everything, but
I'm gonna go back and read the article to make sure there's enough wiggle room to include all of the things that we call, but I think
But-
it has it.
yeah, we'll check that. I move to request that the Board of Selectmen to expend $426K from the mitigation fund. We'll put in the official names of these again. And to transfer from free cash the amount of 100,000 for the town hall elevator project to be expended by the Board of Selectmen contingent upon the receipt of the
Massachusetts
yeah,
Cultural Council.
Cultural
Cultural
Council
Grant,
grant.
For the balance of the,
Yeah,
426.
I think that works.
I think so.
That seem reasonable? I can
Yeah.
leave this with you, Mary?
With sunset language.
Hmm?
With sunsetting language.
No, because
No.
we have to come
No.
back.
No,
have
because
to
we
come
can
back.
just,
Because they can go back, they'll say we have 526,000 committed from the town.
Right.
Now we're looking for
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
and, yeah. So.
Okay, I
when-
think that's great.
In mid-May, you say
They
That's-
said mid to late May.
Mid to late May.
So
So in some respects, this might even be positive,
I
because
think,
if
I view it that
you
way.
can put actual hard dollars on the table from the town and show it's sitting
Right.
there, it may actually give us a leg up in the last
Yeah,
review of things.
I think so.
Do we need to vote on that?
Well, I'm not sure we do. I mean, we were really just sort of talking about, I mean, if you would like to vote sort of support of this approach at this point, we're obviously not, what I was talking about is just a motion to be made on the floor and being sure we could fit it in.
So
But-
I believe this is Article 36. Is that what they had? Tentative 36?
Out of how, do we have an idea of how many? 36 out of,
I was just looking at this from the Finance Committee on warrant articles.
46.
okay.
But, I mean,
I know,
it
it just,
doesn't really mean anything, but
I know, but it just gives you an idea how late or where you are at town meeting.
Okay.
When do we have to get the warrant? We need to go through the warrant.
immediately.
Well, then we need to look at it and see how it's set up too.
Yep.
No, wait a minute.
Those are,
So this is something you guys will do,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Because it's your thing and
Yeah.
you'll do whatever you want.
Yep.
Should we meet now with the FinCom just to give them a heads up officially?
we need to, because we need to talk to them about 100,000.
Right, right.
It's
Which
important.
they've already recommended, but,
Well,
Without.
yes and no.
okay.
Well, it's here.
Yeah, I thought they had, from what I'd seen.
They had mentioned that
Oh,
as
it
a
came
way
in
to
there.
fund it, but they hadn't recommended that
Isn't it
method.
in their report as
It's in their
recommended?
report and it's voted funding for that 1 to 3.
okay. So we weren't under the impression they had made a vote.
So-
They took a vote 4 to 0 in favor of the Highland Commons cultural money, the 426.
That's 4 in favor.
And then the
Mitigation.
100K free cash and the 424 as debt, it was 1 in favor, 3 against.
Okay, so we're changing that to,
So you need to go.
Okay, so they
yes.
haven't recommended.
they haven't
Okay.
Haven't
recommended
recommended
it.
Not
any debt.
yet.
They're against the debt.
They recommended the 426 from the
Right.
mitigation,
Mitigation.
Yes.
but they did not recommend the
The
free
debt,
cash and the debt.
Right.
So we need to go and ask them if they recommend the free
The free
cash and the
cash.
grant.
Yes. Because
Okay.
that's how the article's going to be worded.
Right.
Okay.
So we should get a copy, well, Mary can maybe send us that. And then we can
Yeah.
take it on we can take it on
Yeah,
Wednesday
actually,
night.
The selectmen have a posted meeting that night too, right?
Yeah, I think Thomas and I were both going to go.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh,
So if you get a time slot with them, tell us.
okay,
I think it would be good to have you guys there
Okay.
along with us.
okay.
Right, Mrs. Keith?
Do you set up the time? No.
I do not.
Okay, Scott.
Scott does.
All right, I'll email Scott.
Okay.
Email Scott right off for an appointment.
Right.
And I know they're busy, they got all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff they're trying to do, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm planning to go to their meeting to push them on getting their report done for the town report. So before I leave here, I will push the selectmen in the same regard.
Yeah, we looked at it today.
Thank you.
Well, I still want that wording because my brain doesn't accept it.
Yeah, I'll give it to Mary. I have it here, and then
I'll
she
take it.
can,
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Okay.
You
Thank
can email it to me.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you,
Thanks,
All
folks.
right,
Thank you.
thanks.
thank you.
Sorry. Are we gonna take a vote on this?
I'm not sure
It's already on. It's just the wording for the article. The article's already on the town warrant.
Yeah, but it's a change in what's on the warrant, what we decide to put on there.
no. No, It is not. This would be a motion that could be made. Right now, there's an article in the warrant that says we spend the 900 odd.
Set.
And so this is a motion we would make under the article. Just, could
But you're
it,
using this to go
Is it
to
over there? He's got a
the
whole-
cultural council to indicate,
No.
oh, I was about to hand those out, yes?
to try and leverage and indicate that we support it in order to get them to give the grant. Well, at least I want them to know that it's only got 2/3 support, not
Well, they're gonna re-vote it,
who's gonna be voted.
finance,
Yeah,
on Wednesday.
but are you gonna go to the cultural council and you're gonna send a letter saying the Board of Selectmen supports this?
No.
Unanimous?
No.
What they would say would be that they had, if that motion were approved, then they would have 526,000 in committed local funding. That's what they would be
For
saying.
the end of this month, so
Okay,
That's it.
kinda gotta move it pretty fast to get it done.
all right.
No, that's what we talked about here, that it might get us over the fence because we would have 526 in committed local funding, committed voted local funding, if the vote goes that way.
Yep.
So there's a note in here that says, if you do get the grant, please let us know. We might be willing to reconsider this line if it was just for 100,000. So that's the 36B.
Okay. I knew I'd seen that somewhere. Okay. All right. Shall we, move along to discussion items?
Well, I don't see here on the discussion, but I think we need to talk about the ballot.
Yes.
It's Article 46, and these are the 4 questions that Eloise prepared if you wanted to go forward with 4 questions on Article 46.
So, and Chris can correct me on this, but at the meeting on Wednesday with the bond council, we talked about doing a debt exclusion for conservation. And a debt exclusion for the town barn. And the town barn, although FinCom recommended against it, when we talked with bond counsel about it, she said if we don't do anything until after July of 2016, yes, that, and did the borrowing, that she could push out the payments, you just do some interest-only payments, so that it would coincide, the borrowing, the large piece of the borrowing coming on the books would coincide with this building being paid off. So you could just slide it in. So you would have no, or not a significant tax increase. So for all of us, that made a big, that was the big thing, was that we wanted to push it off until this building got paid off. But this building is paid off in FY 18. And then 17, so the borrowing for here would hit on FY 18.
January of 2017, so it's quite 17, right?
Yes. So then the total borrowing for the barn would not occur until FY 18.
Okay.
So that's for the town barn. When we were talking about the conservation, we were talking about $1 million, and we had a long discussion over how you borrow it, because if you can't just borrow the money and have it sitting there. You have to borrow for specific things. So that would go in as a debt exclusion also. And then the 1870 town hall and the fire truck would be an excess levy, along with the McCully property.
So, we don't, I mean, I don't have a specific parcel with a promise of buying right now, so we'd be borrowing.
No,
getting
no,
out-
you're borrowing to fund the conservation fund, which is a specific expenditure.
Okay.
No, well, what
But
we discussed is that you would have the ability to borrow. If
Right.
this passed, it would give you the ability to borrow, and then you would have, we figured that if it was 61A property,
Yeah.
you have 120 days from when they notify us, and in that time period, you'd have the ability to go through the borrowing procedure
Okay.
for that
Right, yeah.
specific thing.
Yeah.
But that you can't just borrow $1 million and have it sitting in conservation.
You cannot.
No, but we could
Because
go
of
and borrow it.
arbitrage. If it earns interest, you can't, I don't know.
Right.
Can't borrow money to have.
Dennis
it sitting in
explained that
account.
the other day.
Yeah.
But we could go, but we then could go and borrow it without having to go back to town meeting.
Yes.
The
We'd have
borrowing
to-
would
The
be
town
they give us
meeting
the
would
power to
authorize
borrow.
you to
Okay.
borrow up to $1 million,
Yeah,
but you still have to go through the whole borrowing procedure every time.
right. So selectmen approval, conservation. How about if we had I mentioned to Dennis, what if we had a 4-person committee? Dennis, a select person, a conservation commission, and a FinCom member to oversee it with the people. I don't know, just wondering if the voters and the taxpayers would rather see a little more oversight, although we've got a pretty good record, the Conservation Commission as it is.
Well, you're the one who has to sell it at town meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, you have had it easy because all along, you've gotten 50,000 a year from Solomon Pond, and you've gotten money from here, and you've gotten state grants, so you haven't had to go to the town and ask. So this is your first.
All right. It ain't for me, it's for our children.
Anyway, that was the presumption on that, is that you'd have the approval to borrow up to $1 million, and that it would probably occur in pieces.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't, by the way, I was gone and the commission thinks it was 3. I urged them to reduce it some. So the article, the selectmen make the determination of what the article's gonna say going in there. Because the commission at this, we're meeting Wednesday night and I'm going to, I will be urging a reduction from the 3.
Well, I personally think $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, me too. That's why I would, but the commission hasn't voted on it, and I just don't want to be the one that say it. Maybe we shouldn't,
Well, can we wait until Thursday morning to reduce that?
I actually technically don't have an article from the Conservation Commission in the first place.
oh,
but
that's the other one. Was it the rail trail one you don't
Rail
have?
trail and the $3 million borrowing.
Okay, I've got the
Well-
rail trail one, but I ran out of power, so I couldn't send that to you tonight. I'll send it to you tomorrow, and you want wording for the Conservation Commission.
So FinCom voted 4-0 in favor of $1 million.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to be said for going with FinCom's recommendation in terms of getting it through, so I wouldn't think the Conservation Commission would balk at that, but.
I don't either, but I want to get. I
No,
want
I'd be-
the whole
no, you'd wanna
membership
have
to
the-
see it, yeah.
Barry would have been a better person to ask about his drop dead timeline on getting the annual town meeting warrant, but you're not, FinCom's not making its recommendations Wednesday night to even append to it.
I was just asking him about the annual report from FinCom, and I said, when is that drop dead date? He says, yeah, it's passed.
Well, yeah, I
So I
mean,
don't
he
know.
has to get it, it's the first week in April, and he's
Yeah.
gotta get it all together into the printer, and then it's gotta be
Right.
mailed out 2 weeks before town
We were gonna
meeting.
do that Wednesday night, but it sounds like we're gonna be kinda busy.
Today is the day that FinCom makes recommendations to selectmen.
So I would imagine these are the two ballot
On the
questions.
10th.
1 and 2, and then
So that's
the
later this
576 was gonna be excess levy, that's the fire truck.
Okay.
And then we just talked about this isn't gonna ask for anything. Right? They're not asking for 424.
Mm-hmm.
They're not asking for that to become debt.
Yeah, so that.
So
would
that's
not-
out. And then the 576 is levy,
Is out, yes, okay.
so it's
So
just
these are
those
the two that are borrowing. And then the 1 million is also borrowing within the levy, correct?
No.
No.
So here's the million,
Okay, that's the million.
and this is the 3.8 for
Okay,
the
all right, so just those
town
two.
barn.
Okay.
So what's in the back of your annual town meeting draft warrant are
Mhm.
only the two articles that
Mhm.
the FinCom thought was going forward.
Yep. Okay.
Page 14, Article 46.
What was the warrant of articles?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that seems right.
And then the top of page 15 is an explanation. Eloise says it's appropriate to have an explanation in there, so that came from the DOR, on the difference between debt exclusion and capital outlay expenditure exclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you're saying that question 2 is a capital outlay, then you're saying that it's gonna be bonded for only a year. Or only for the year in which the project's being undertaken.
Eloise drafted the questions. Those comport with what she says those are.
Because that's being spent out of the levy. No, sorry,
No,
hang on.
neither one of those are
Yeah.
being, they're both asking to go on to
But it would be a
push up the
1 year, yeah.
levy. But the one is just a standard
For borrowing.
debt exclusion is for the life of the debt, and then it
Mhm.
goes away. We all admitted that we had to look this up because we haven't borrowed in so
Right, and that's
long.
what
Yeah.
that says. Question 1 is add to the levy limit or levy ceiling for the life of the debt only and for the payment of specified debt service costs.
Mm-hmm.
No, this has a whole bunch of motions, contingent motions. I printed out a bunch of. A capital outlay expenditure is a mechanism that allows a community to raise the total dollar cost of the capital purchase through a one-year increase in the tax levy. In this way, the city or town avoids long-term interest costs if it were to borrow the needed funds.
Okay.
It can only be used to fund purposes specified in Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8. But
Okay.
what we just talked about for that $1 million was that it could take place over a number of years.
Well, that suggests that number 2 is not borrowing, but raising the levy for 1 year,
Yep.
okay?
That's incorrect is what Judy's saying.
No,
No?
I'm saying that if it's a capital outlay expenditure exclusion, it allows you to raise the levy by that amount for 1 year and 1 year only.
By the $1 million.
Yes.
So we wouldn't want to do that.
Well,
If he's gonna.
but then there would be no borrowing if we didn't do that.
Well, unless you made it a debt exclusion.
Right.
I think, so if you got the permission to borrow up to $1 million, but you only borrow $250,000 in the first year, and you still have $750,000 of borrowing capacity that you haven't used.
Yeah, okay. The way this is written, okay, this is not a borrowing article. The ballot question is not a borrowing question.
Which,
Okay, what is it?
It is something that allows you to raise, in addition to the levy capacity,
Right,
in 1 year and for only 1 year, one time, $1 million.
okay.
So therefore, that could go right into the conservation fund because it's not a borrowing. It's an actual raising. You with me?
Right. But
So that-
I don't think that's what was intended.
I don't know. That's what, I'm just reading the language on the page, and it isn't a borrowing.
I mean, that would be a big hit to your taxes. That would be $1 million increase on your taxes in 1 year.
And then never again.
And what was talked about was having it as a debt exclusion.
Okay.
Explain that debt exclusion to me, please.
It excludes the debt from the levy limit for the period of the loan.
Right.
So that, and it doesn't show up immediately on the tax bills?
Well, it'll show up when it gets borrowed.
Yeah,
When it gets
if,
borrowed.
if you borrowed it all in the first year, it would have the same, I mean, you would see a borrowing cost, and if you borrowed it only for 1 year or short term, under that, the whole million could hit, but,
Yeah.
see, if you look at the first of those on page 14, okay, it says, if you look at the beginning of the second line after the comma, what's being exempted is the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to fund the construction of, okay? That's the effective language for a debt exclusion. But if you look at the second one, it says, shall the town of Berlin be allowed to assess an additional $1 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding the effort to protect either by fee acquisition or preferably conservation restriction, blah, blah, blah. So that doesn't say anything.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm simply saying that I don't think the intent was to throw $1 million on the tax levy in 1 year.
No.
And that's what that would effectively be doing.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
who
I
wrote-
wasn't at
who-
those meetings when it was discussed, but I'm just reading what.
Who wrote this?
Eloise wrote these.
So who wrote the warrant article?
All of 46, down to the signatures of the selectmen, was Eloise. The little blurb afterwards, Eloise said there should be a blurb.
No, there should be, because obviously it explains that 1 is 1 and, and 2 is 2, which each of them are. So the blurb
But
is
choosing the
appropriate.
language of the Article 1 and 2 was Eloise drafted those questions.
So.
I think the issue with what is written there also is that I think she was trying to get around the fact that you can't borrow if you don't have something you're buying. In other words, you can't borrow the money and have it sit in a savings account.
Right.
So she tried to get around that by maybe writing that question up.
Yes, that would get around that. That's why you were losing me on the curves about, when I said at the beginning, I thought it could go into the conservation fund, because if it was just an excess levy amount, a town can always vote a certain amount into the conservation fund. As a matter of fact, we've done that as part of each of the mitigation agreements. And the way this is written,
Right.
it is just doing that with $1 million that is in excess to the levy.
Well, I would not vote in favor of that. That would be like a huge tax hit.
When I was Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife, I was given $56 million to buy open space. But we couldn't just spend that. We had to go and get permission to take, that was over a 5 or 6 year period, So we had to go through a process to take the money out. We were allocated so much out of it every year, 10 million or so. Isn't that the way this would work?
No, this would be in the conservation fund, and then it would be a matter of a policy, if you will, to do that.
She said that you would pull, let's say, $2 million, but not, you could get the authorization to borrow up to $2 million, but not borrow it all at once. You can pull $100,000 and leave 1.9 million capacity sitting there to borrow. The debt doesn't go onto your taxes until borrowed.
Right, but this is a capital. This is not a borrowing.
That's what it looks like to me. I mean, I'm.
A community may use all of the additional taxing authority provided, capital expenditure exclusions, provided by an approved capital expenditure exclusion question, so long as the amount appropriated for the specified capital project for the fiscal year net any reimbursement received from the state or federal government for the project equals or exceeds the amount stated. The amount represents the community's share of the project cost for that year. No, this is another.
So what was the vision here, that we would?
The vision was that we would put it through as a debt exclusion, and what Mary just read, that he could take out pieces of it when it would still have to come through the Board of Selectmen for approval, because it's a borrowing, and it would have to go to the treasurer, who would borrow with bond counsel for it.
So what, if I might, then it should be, shall the town of Berlin be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Prop 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for borrowing of up to $1 million, and again, I'm roughing this out, of up to $1 million to fund, and then pick up the rest of the language, to fund the effort to protect, pick up the rest of it. So
Right.
that would make it a debt exclusion. But again, not having been in those conversations,
Well, Mary,
She never talked about what vehicle article.
Okay.
She did not discuss specifically the terms to use.
well, when she talks about debt, she's talking about a debt
I agree.
exclusion.
I know. She never did differentiate, though, between this. Eloise did this after the meeting.
mhm. All right.
What did the finance committee think on this? What was their thinking?
We approved for debt exclusion, the 1 million.
Okay, so I think then it should be, shall the town of Berlin be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to repay funding for the effort to protect, either by fee acquisition or preferably by
CI.
conservation restriction, etc. So that would reword it as a debt exclusion? Yeah.
Okay.
You're just hacking around here, but did you actually draft something?
I have sort of jotted it down.
One of these has a bunch of.
this, within brackets is a star from this bracket to this bracket.
That's
So
the
you-
star?
Yeah, so you would say to exempt from,
Blah, blah.
yeah, the amounts not to exceed $1 million required to repay borrowing for the,
Date amounts not required.
not to exceed,
Not to exceed 1 million
Yeah.
for the,
not to exceed 1 million required to repay borrowing for the
oh, I see.
purpose of
Okay.
funding, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, yeah,
at that. And I'll
yeah.
copy you and actually all the selectmen and Eloise just to get
Mhm.
confirmation of that by email, like
Yeah.
overnight tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I mean, it seems to me rewriting it that way makes it a borrowing as
And then
opposed to a
drop
levy.
this, always call them both debt exclusions.
They would both be
Yeah,
debt
so get rid
exclusions
of-
then?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Because it seems to me I'm hearing that's what FinCom approved. That's what capital planning thought they were
Yeah.
considering.
Well, I mean, that's what I wrote down in my notes from her, debt exclusion, excess levy.
She said that? Bond counsel?
That's what I got in my notes here. That these two would be debt exclusions and that these would be excess levy,
So the two
Oh,
that
and
we've
I'm
been
looking-
talking about, yes.
are debt exclusions.
Yes.
Conservation
Yeah.
and the town barn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. But then are we going to have?
Excess levy for the 1870 and the
Okay.
fire truck, and excess levy for the McCully. They can borrow within the levy. She was thinking,
Okay. Now I'm getting like totally confused because excess levy means
it's
an
borrowing,
authorization,
it's borrowing within the levy.
but then that's not excess levy.
Well, you're using the levy to pay off your borrowing.
I understand that, but you're not asking people to vote for doing anything in excess of the levy.
No, that's why
Right.
it's not on here.
Right,
Right.
but
Yes, the only two
But you see
questions
what I'm
that
saying?
need to be on
If these
here
were
are the...
truly excess levy, then they would have to have an article like the number 2 that we were just foxing with,
There you will pay for the borrowing through levy capacity.
to levy capacity. That's fine. I got it. Do you know?
Yes, I understand
Okay.
what you're saying,
All right.
but
And
we were
those two know what they're
using...
talking about.
Nobody else does, but we. No, okay, here's the confusion. They said that they had excess capacity under the levy to do that,
Okay.
okay? Which means you don't have to raise the levy.
Yeah.
If what they meant was excess levy, they would be asking for what we were just talking about had been asked for erroneously with respect to conservation, which is a 1-year bump in the levy just to fund that. Okay? So I think we,
Got it.
all right. Okay, you got it, so you can explain it when the annual town meeting comes around.
All right, so that was your original one.
All right, well,
That'll-
we'll all
These
that
are-
we'll all take a
exponential
shot at that. We'll all take a
You
shot
think
at
you need
that.
4, here's 4.
All right.
But I think you only need 2. And I've got Tom's rewrite, so, okay.
All right,
Do you want yours back, Tom, for any, we're still talking about it.
Yeah,
I-
we're still
I typed
talking.
it.
Okay, good. No, I just,
Mary, where did you get the article for the wetlands? Who gave you that? Conservation Commission?
What wetlands?
Well, the wetlands bylaws.
The big long one?
Yeah.
You sent it.
Oh,
No.
Oh, I'm
that's, so
sorry,
it's
and then they
old then?
sent, and they
they
sent
sent,
Another-
alternative?
they came back and
With the
they,
edited one?
They did.
Okay.
they did.
Okay.
Andrew did? Is it Andrew?
Andrew Donahue,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's who came in.
He's a great addition.
Yeah. Okay.
so should we go through the warrant?
That'd be great. So the FinCom, according to the calendar, the FinCom makes its recommendations article by article for inclusion in this
Yeah. It's
on
gonna be-
April 8th, Friday.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Actually, could we take a short 5-minute break before
Sure.
we embark on this?
Do you want me to make copies of the Finance Committee report on the warrant articles? So you have this? It's
I think I have it, I just don't have it
with you?
with me, but
Okay.
yeah.
I can make copies if you want.
No, I think they handed them out. I have them. I just didn't bring them
Okay.
today because I wasn't thinking I'd need those today, so.
Okay.
I have them set aside so I have them on Wednesday when I go. I'll be right. 5-minute break. Turn the pages then on this.
Well, it looks like it's pretty boilerplate. Page 1, page 2.
Page, top of page 3 is just taking the Cable Access Committee revolving account. Oh, geez, what is this?
To establish revolving
Oh, yeah,
accounts for the cable access stuff, correct?
yeah, I thought that was supposed to be 30,000.
I don't know, 20 sounded good to me, but I mean, that was a couple months ago.
Well, it should be, I mean, it's only receipts, you know, so you, here's what we should
It
do.
would be subscriber fees, which is what we
Right.
talked about with the,
Right. So if we put 20,000 in and subscriber fees are 25,
They're adding payroll to that, so that needed to be higher, because they can't pay payroll out of the,
right. But it should be the whole amount of the receipts, because now we're going to put it into a revolving fund.
right.
I don't know what that is, but,
oh no, that is the bump up, okay, so it was 10, and now it's gonna be 20.
Okay.
That is right.
okay. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not less than the receipts, because otherwise you hang yourself up.
So that's the only reason why that's taken out of the grid.
Okay?
And also to specifically say it would be able to pay payroll and related benefits.
Okay?
So on number 13,
Yeah, I thought that wasn't going in this year.
I thought that the Finance Committee voted 1 to 3,
They voted not to recommend.
not to recommend it, and I thought Keith said that
What was this?
the paving of the parking lot,
Right,
didn't Keith say at that meeting
to
to just,
Take it out?
do, well, no, he said, I'll leave it up to us. So we voted on it.
Print another warrant?
I guess he could pass it over
Yeah.
and just leave it in there.
Well,
I just thought the price is continuing to rise, so, you know, if we can afford to do it, we should do it. But
Well, we could leave it in there and,
well, why don't we discuss that with FinCom on Wednesday night if we can decide to take it out? If there's no way we're gonna,
You know,
I would say this, if there's no way that we are going to be able to afford it within the levy limit, and if they're recommending against it, you know, this thing's a paper ballot,
that'll start the evening off.
and it'll be 2/3 a vote.
You know, I drive in and out of there a lot. It didn't occur to me that doesn't bother me a bit. It just isn't that bad, and it's all settled. It's occurred because of the settling since the new construction. It isn't gonna get any worse for a while, so leave it off a year or two.
Well, it just keeps going up in price, though, that's what we discussed.
Well, I mean, everything's going up in price.
But again, you've got to get a 2/3 vote.
Okay.
Do you want to take it out, or should we talk to FinCom about it one last time? Make a decision on Wednesday.
Well, you guys voted against it.
we did.
I say, then take it out, put it in next year.
That's what I say.
It's fine with me, so we'll take out Article 13.
Take out Article 13.
There shouldn't be an Article 13 anyway.
That's right.
Bad luck.
Right.
So the next one is standard, the
Well, the next
70
one's gonna be 13 though, so that's.
70,000 for the hot top. Then the renovation of the Bullard House. So you guys approved the hot top for the town roads, they voted in favor of. The Bullard House was 4-0. Breathing apparatus and air cylinders, they voted for, which is 16. 17, the personal protection equipment for the fire. They voted in favor of that. New security system at BMS, they voted in favor of that. Reseal the windows at BMS, they voted in favor of that.
Didn't
that on
didn't some of
here?
your green money come out of that, Judy? Wouldn't it cover that?
Well, I didn't get asked, so I didn't put it in because I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could have been.
Okay, I'll give you, and I'm marking it here on Article 15.
15.
The
Yeah.
old 15.
The old, yeah, I'm not renumbering things right now, just for, we'll get
Yep.
totally confused. Okay, instead of appropriate, it should say, we'll vote to request the Board of Selectmen to expend from Highland Commons again, because this is a gift
Board of
fund.
Selectmen vote to expend.
So we'll vote to request the Board of Selectmen to expend from Highway Commons, okay? And I actually think, I almost think that, I almost think that we should say, yeah, it's hard to say, because this is a gift. I don't know whether the parenthetical should be Board of Selectmen or Historical Commission. How do people feel about that?
What do you mean?
In the sense
for it
that
to be
we've-
spent?
Yeah. Because, again, these are sort of awards that we went through the first time. I almost think it should be Board of Selectmen. The Historical Commission can speak to it.
Okay, I don't really,
Just
in the
sponsor?
parentheses, who
But
sponsors
with-
it?
With expenditures from the selectmen?
What are you talking,
Also,
still
or just
Article
about who's
15?
sponsoring it?
Board of Selectmen in
Yes.
parentheses?
I'm thinking about who's sponsoring it, Board of Selectmen, because
The Board
these
of-
are our awards,
Okay.
and then it should be to be expended by the historical.
Not one and then slash, the historical commission, not selectmen slash?
No.
Okay, just one. And do that for
But-
all of those?
Yeah.
BMS?
Yes.
Station?
I just think it better reflects
Okay.
what's happening, and when we get up, we'll explain.
Even the school,
Yeah.
yeah.
How does it work with the elevator then, of the money coming out of the mitigation money for that? How is that one worded? Are we,
It would be the same. I mean, when I read that
yeah,
stuff, same thing. Move to request the Board of
So Article
Selectmen to
20
expend.
instead
Yep,
of the school
got it.
committee would be
I
the
mean,
Board
Board
of
of
Selectmen.
Selectmen, and then
The
go
article
ahead
may
to
not
the
say that, but we'll
elevator.
I know.
inform the
Right,
article,
Where's
say that, yep.
36? I
Okay.
had town hall historical and selectmen, so that should just be selectmen on, when we get to the elevator one?
Yeah, I think so.
Just selectmen.
But let's go down them one by one. Okay. 16 is pretty boilerplate. 17 is. 18. The security system, yep, that's 19. Did,
So 20 has to get changed.
Board of selectmen.
yep,
And then it won't be appropriating, it'll be the same
Oh,
word.
yeah, request the Board of Selectmen to expend, yep. And put again the Board of Selectmen. Then when we make the article, we can say to be expended by the Historical Commission or to be expended by
Okay.
the school committee, okay? FinCom approved all of these little ones for the school?
Yep.
So none of them are,
No, they're all 4-0 in favor.
okay.
Well, we did request that they combine them and make one article, and they refused,
Okay.
because we didn't want to prioritize for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the town meeting will prioritize for them, I'm saying,
I guess so.
or they'll vote for all of them. No, the only reason I was asking was,
they'll just sail through.
yeah,
They won't even question them.
well, the only reason I was asking is that each of these would, if the FinCom had voted against them, each of them would be a paper ballot, each of them would require
Right.
2/3. We got 46 articles, we may want to think about taking something like that off, you know, that,
Right.
Well, there's one that's under 5,000.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
I know,
exactly.
I understand
But
what
the
you're
other
saying.
ones,
They voted for 24,
okay,
which is the police cruiser.
okay,
And then for Article 25 on the copiers, they voted against that,
okay,
0 to 4.
all right. Again, that's a paper ballot. Okay, over
Leave it on.
$10,000.
Leave it on.
I would say take it off if they voted against it. I don't want to make this meeting longer than we need to.
So what was the rationale of voting against it?
I believe
They said that there was no communication between the selectman's office and the assessor's office, which I'm not sure how much of this ever came up at FAC, so I can't say that someone from FinCom who was sitting at a meeting didn't pass this on, but we did talk about this, that if the selectman's article passed, that the assessors would take one of the lower mileage one into their office and delete their article.
Right.
That they needed to keep the
Okay.
assessor's article on in case the selectman's one failed, but that may not have been properly communicated to
I
the
might not have been at that meeting.
No, I'm not sure if it was you, Doc, or none of you were at that meeting where this was discussed, but Molly and I did talk about it.
Okay,
So they
Let's-
voted, replace copier for assessor was a 1 to 3 vote against. That's what it looks like.
and the copier for,
Or 5 to 0.
So there's an article for 2 copiers for the
Select.
Board of Selectmen, and then there's a replace copier for assessor, which they voted 1 to 3 against.
Okay, so it's a misnomer to say it's for the selectmen, just that the selectmen have historically had oversight over
I
these.
thought we voted against both of them.
Well, you did. One was a vote 1
No,
to
I mean
3.
Unanimously against it.
Well, this says 1 to 3.
okay. I would say, let's have a quick chat with them on Wednesday night, but if their negative recommendation is still gonna be out there, my feeling is take it off, because I can't see going to a paper ballot.
For a
over-
copier?
Yeah,
And the other thing is, in the future, maybe this ought to just be a lease with a fixed amount and then not even deal with this purchasing business.
yeah. And, who knows? If the thing, those are old, they're hard to get parts for, and we may end up having a reserve fund transfer to lease something to follow the year if it,
Yeah.
if it really,
So we want to talk to them about Article 25 and Article,
13.
well, I thought 13, we can't talk to them, but I thought we just
what's
take
the
it.
other one? 1 to 3. Article 30, which is the
Okay.
assessor's copier.
Yep, okay. All right. The data systems one, what was the recommendation on that?
Let's see, where are we? Computer assessment, 4 to 0 in favor.
In favor, okay, good.
Repave the drives in South Cemetery, 4 to 0 in favor.
Maybe you get a peripheral that's a copier under Article 26, huh? Oh, man.
Actually, if you look at the back of the room, I did.
Yeah, I know. So, anyway.
They voted in favor of new cubicles for the library,
Okay,
and then we come to the copier, which they voted against.
okay, so we'll talk to them about that, but that's less than 3 if we...
Yeah.
That's less than 10. It's the ones that are above 10 that really create a hassle.
They voted in favor of the master plan for
Okay.
5,000. 32. FY appropriations for the new PEG account.
So it's special town meeting, it's a way to protect cable money, or else it's gonna go into the general fund per state
Right.
law. So at special town meeting, we're creating the statutory account, public education government account, PEG. And then here, we say that fiscal year 17 appropriations flow into the PEG account. But the revolving account that we talked about earlier is gonna remain separate, at least for this year. The DOR is still dealing with whether or not the revolving accounts also go into these accounts. But they don't, at this point, says June, enter DOR rep.
Okay.
So this is just something that town council's gotta have seen in
Okay.
other places, and they're just gonna.
Okay.
put it in here.
And we have.
That's the other thing, town council needs to answer on some of the things.
Yeah. Okay. See if town will raise the permanent board. Okay. So they voted against that.
Well, they proposed a debt exclusion, not a
A
capital
debt
debt.
exclusion, yeah.
Which one you on?
33.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we're gonna talk to them about.
Yeah, so that we'll talk, yep, gotcha. Okay. And then we talked about Article 34.
Well,
And basically, okay, we need to resolve this issue with the ballot questions, and then the article is gonna closely follow the ballot question. Okay?
So they voted 4-0 in favor of $1 million
As a debt exclusion.
as a debt
Okay.
exclusion.
So we need to confirm that, and then the article will very closely follow what we just did for the
Right.
ballot question, okay?
Well, how are we gonna finalize this? Because I don't think we have another week
no,
to get these done.
Well, we have a meeting on Wednesday night.
So you and I can,
Are you available on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I will be later, Conservation Commission.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, none of these are gonna take too
so
long
if
a
you can
time.
send us the fixed up version from tonight,
and I'll just
And
highlight
then-
everything that you have questions about.
and then we can send you an email with the changes that we make or don't make
For Thursday.
for
And then I
Thursday.
send it to town council for review.
Well,
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, they haven't, I've sent really ugly drafts of this and I haven't had no response, but then you can clearly tell.
well, tell him Barry needs this by, he does have to go out to print.
Tell you what, let's do this, let's finish going through, and then let's see how close we are to a final. Maybe we can shove this thing to town council to say, and, don't look at these 5, because they're gonna be finalized, but the others will have
Okay.
clean and in good copy,
This
okay?
cleaned up copy I'm sending to you too, I will also send to Joel and say.
Yeah, let's look at that at the
Okay,
end, but I'm
okay,
saying if we've
okay.
just got 5 or 6 that
Okay.
we want, then let's get the clean ones, the rest of them out to him and say, and we're gonna
Okay.
get 5 or 6 we really will need you to look at toot sweet later in the week. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
While it's on my mind, on this fund we have for the conservation that the money's been going into, if money's in there, the town voted when they established that fund
Yes,
that we could spend out of it.
That's
Without having
correct.
to go back to town meeting.
that's correct.
So, okay. So the question comes up, because I think the state, I just learned today in Ashley too, the state, she thinks that they've changed the regs so that everything we do, we have to go for a town meeting vote. And I'm saying, but the town meeting voted to give a general approval to whatever we wanted to buy way back
I thought that
when.
with respect to certain grant stuff, you need to do that.
That's what it's for, the
Yes,
grants.
yes. But as
Yeah.
a matter of municipal finance,
Yeah,
you don't have to. That's my understanding. You with me?
yeah.
And that's why we put that on the don't we have something on the SDM for that?
The Web Joe.
The Web Show property one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they need a vote of the town endorsing it, but you
Every-
didn't have to do it to spend it. They needed an endorsement of it for
Right.
the grant process.
Okay.
I think that's right.
All right, well, Ashley's going to find out tomorrow.
Okay.
We've got Great Oak Farm
Yep.
that we may have to have a vote for, to spend the money.
Are you getting state grant money for that?
We're applying for it.
Okay. All right, let's keep chugging along here.
So Article 35, FinCom recommended 700,000 with 123,933 coming from the
Mitigation.
Highland Commons Public Safety Fund, and the rest would be debt within the tax levy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this article, besides changing the numbers from 1 million to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or borrow or transfer for the purchase or lease purchase of a ladder truck / quint. Does that mean that it has to be a quint with that wording? Because my
No.
understanding,
No. I think I read that
Should
as
it say and/or?
or.
I want to make it as vague as possible, because he's talking now about having the ladder truck and putting on the,
Yeah, put and or. I mean, so I read /, but
okay,
And change that to 700,000.
no,
Oh, don't?
you're trying to borrow 576,067.
Oh, only put that number.
Well, actually, you need to, I guess we need to change that wording altogether, because 123 has to be approved to come out of the public safety fund, or is that one that
To request
we don't
this
have to have that
BOS.
voted on? Because it's public safety.
Well, again, we could, as a Board of Selectmen, just spend that.
Right.
all right? Our promise was that we would put this, quote unquote, through the normal budget process, which means that there was, some vote that gave an equivalent amount of endorsement or control. It seems to me that if we made an article, a motion under this to spend it out of that meets the spirit of that, because the people have said, spend it out of that, right?
Right.
So you would not say with the BOS to request the BOS to expend
Yeah, we-
123.
Well, I think that the finance committee is spending money out of that, and it gets written into
The normal budget.
the normal budget.
And this will take care of it. The other one is really, because we have that grant process, I wanted to distinguish it from this, but
So just borrow 576,067.
yeah. The article, I think, seems fine, the article, with the change of and or quint.
You know what? I don't think you want and/or quint. A quint is a different truck from a ladder truck. But what did he call that one that has the bucket on it? Tower.
A tower. But that's just a type of ladder truck.
So I think it should just be ladder truck and not have quint in there.
Well, I think,
A quint has a pumper, has a, what did I learn all those years? Has a pumper. It's got 4 pieces.
I would check with the chief on
All
that.
right,
He
check
was
with,
the one who gave-
yeah, check with the chief and ask him what he wants that worded as.
Yeah, and I'm
Ladder
willing to
truck,
accept
ladder
and
truck,
or, if
and-
that's what,
It's the broadest language.
yeah.
Yeah, you put the,
Because then the motion made under it can be either one.
Okay, so leave it.
check with him,
Okay.
how he would want that worded.
Yeah. All I was saying was, if he's happy with and or,
Okay.
I'm happy with and or.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the 576 number.
Yes.
No, hang on.
That's what they're gonna borrow.
That's what they're gonna be. Let's just look at the article for a moment. The article doesn't have to be changed, because the total amount,
It's not $1 million,
700.
it's 700.
okay. So then we should reduce it to 700.
Okay.
And because I think the chief seems to be on board with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yes, let's change it to 700. So we change that to 700. We don't have to fiddle with
Plus the board to spend.
the division between borrowing and public safety fund, because that can be done under the motion.
Okay.
Okay?
I guess, not to keep pushing this, but to replace the fire department's decommissioned ladder 1. Well, now we have another ladder truck.
Oh,
So I don't know that we need that to replace the fire department's decommissioned
Ladder.
ladder, just to say, to whatever of ladder truck and related equipment, period.
Okay.
Okay.
We're taking action.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying to replace what?
I'm not saying to replace anything, I'm
Okay,
saying take
okay.
out that whole section to replace the fire department's
Okay.
decommissioned ladder one.
Okay. All right. And
So Article 36. And by the way, the Finance Committee voted in favor of the ladder truck.
okay. Okay, I think on this one, because this one's more complicated than this yet.
As we learned a little while ago.
Yep. I think what we want to say here is just maybe raise and appropriate, transfer or expend from available funds, because that would be the community
Mitigation money.
okay? Don't need to put in the Board of Selectmen, request language here, because we'll put it in the motion, and this thing already has enough moving parts that I don't think we have to further complicate it. So, Mary,
Yeah,
on 36,
yeah,
are you,
I'm ready.
okay. In the first line after transfer or expend from available funds.
Yep, got that already.
Okay?
And that's it?
I think that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just wait till we have to write up the motion, though.
But,
well, I motion to request the selectmen expend $426,000 from Highland Commons Mitigation Fund and to transfer from free cash the amount of $100,000 for the town hall elevator project to be expended by the selectmen,
Right.
contingent on the receipt of the Mass Cultural Council grant.
that's right.
Right?
Yeah, and that, I was looking at this article, and all of that fits under this
Okay.
article, so. Okay.
Oh, so 37 is the senior work-off program.
Okay.
Wait a minute, no, I take it back.
No, it's different.
Reduce the rate of interest on property taxes deferred by eligible seniors. I don't know, what, is that?
That came from the assessors.
So what is it? From 8% to 5? Oh, this is the, reducing the interest rate on, taxes that assessed. I guess right now they're charging them 8% interest, and she felt that that was excessive
Okay,
and wanted to lower it to 5.
okay.
Or we could pretend that we're a credit card company and make it 33%.
Even at 5%, it's a good deal compared to cash we have lying around, right?
Yep.
Okay, these are additional exemptions requested by the Board of Assessors. Oh, that all looks... Economic development looks fine.
They want $500.
Okay,
Did you guys vote?
For,
Do we know?
Article 39. Oh,
It
shit.
says to raise and appropriate the sum of $500 on Article 39. I presume that would be
Article
free cash?
39.
Here's from the planning board. And at the
No,
end-
we have not, we never saw this, so we did not vote.
all right, let's talk to,
So add 39.
to the talk
Maybe
to
Scott knows
FinCom one,
about it,
yep.
but I don't.
That came from Tim Wheeler.
Okay, and then Article 40 is coming from Walter,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Lickety split?
Lickety split.
And then the Wetland Protection Bylaw. And this reflects the new language that was delivered to us, right, Mary?
Right.
Okay. I'll leave it to you to read through that and check that, okay, Walter?
I will,
All
yeah,
right.
I will.
My
And as
God.
long as it looks, just, there's about 5 elements in it. One is just a buffer zone around wetlands, one's include vernal pools, one makes sure leach fields
Yep.
aren't within 100, and it's all boilerplate necessary to implement it, and the rest is pretty straightforward, so.
All right.
Like
We'll
6
explain it.
pages long.
I know it. I know it.
Wow.
You couldn't get away from it.
No.
You can't get away from it.
Three.
Page 14, if it's up midway with Article 32.
Yeah.
So did you have a hearing on this?
We're going to,
Okay.
we will. In fact, Wednesday night, we'll set it.
So.
All right, we have the citizens petition.
Oh my God, is this in here twice? It's in here twice.
Okay, so we can get rid of one?
Yeah, yay.
Yeah, I was
No.
gonna say, if it's negatively disposed of, we have to wait 2 years, not just a minute and a half. Yep,
Reduction in tax rate, raise and appropriate stabilization.
yeah. And then to
the-
meet, and we talked about the changes for that, to the warrant that we have to confirm, okay?
Yep.
And obviously, if question 2 is not a capital outlay, we'll make that change. All right?
I can pretty much assure you it's not a capital outlay.
Yeah, no, me too, but, you know,
All right, so that's one.
yeah.
So did you talk about any of the special town meeting articles?
Snow and salt, I believe we did. What,
$67.79 for unpaid postage?
That's just Larry. It's-
no, we probably didn't have all of those when we voted on these. When we voted, what was the previous meeting?
Town council, $1,292. Gee, I guess snow and salt went up a little
Yeah.
today.
Might have. Okay,
No, we probably didn't have the numbers.
There aren't final numbers on those.
Okay.
Like you say, they keep taking away.
So we vote on Article 7 to establish this PEG account, and then in the annual, we
vote to fund it.
vote to fund it.
Mm-hmm. So we may not need an Article 8 because we're not going to put this in the PEG account this year, right?
Right.
So we don't probably need an Article 8, correct?
That could be. She was saying that she thought that once you created it, you immediately take the money from fiscal year 16 and put it in there. I think that's what she thought you had to do at special town meeting, and then at annual.
Who
town-
is?
June.
Okay.
I've asked for clarification on this for a while, but she actually just thought the town council oughta.
Okay, all right. Let's leave it in there then.
And that would be just selectmen or also cable access on both of those.
You can put both of those on
And then
there.
on Article 6, it says account and selectmen, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
9 is the exact same as before, I just highlighted the number.
Yep. okay.
Do you think you're still at 325?
I haven't heard otherwise.
Judy, did you say up to 350? Did you say 325 or up to 350 at the bond council meeting?
Oh, no. Did you write it down? I don't have it in my notes.
Yeah, everyone
I
should
wrote
see.
down that we would borrow after July 2016, borrow within the levy, probably for around 5 years, 2-week closing. After it's authorized, it would take approximately 2 weeks to close.
And interest would be due in fiscal year 18.
Yeah.
This
that's-
is, on,
At the McCulleys.
okay.
They borrow up to July 1, right, so.
So
So it's a
this is a
borrow.
borrowing within the levy.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But at that time, when we were wrapping it up, they said 325 to 350 range, and I just,
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make,
Now,
it's not gonna make much difference in the cost for borrowing, but the question is, can we,
do it for 325.
well, so it's 325, and that's 25 over the price, and then, we have, they'll pay us the back taxes on it, but the back taxes would simply go into
Free cash and.
free
Free cash.
cash, and we can't spend that because it hasn't, it
no,
wouldn't have been certified.
right. Right.
So the,
Do you think it's safe to be just 325, or do you think it should be 350? Or some other number?
so we're asking for 25,000 to tear the structure down, or
Well, then there
we
are
could
closing
just board
costs.
it up. Well, it's a not to exceed, so we could make it 350,
Let's do it 350.
and then you just don't use the money that you don't need.
Well, and maybe we have a better idea when we make the motion and make it for 325 and have confidence in that too.
Okay.
And then,
The FinCom said, yeah, with that little note underneath, where they thought that they saw that being purchased from. Originally, they said Highland Commons Arts and Cultural.
have they
Lots.
made a recommendation to that effect?
On February 24th, in an email to the Selectmen, they said they recommended purchase from Highland Commons Arts and Cultural.
So let's speak to them about
It
that.
can't come out of senior housing mitigation funds. I don't know why they keep trying to spend that money.
It's an old house.
It's a senior house.
Yes. Come on now.
I don't know what's.
Mary,
Yes.
also in the 1, 2, 3, third line up from the bottom, where we have raise and appropriate or transfer,
Yep.
let's add or expend from available funds, because in fact it may be an expenditure from that account.
Or expend from available.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So that's WebJo, that's,
WebJo looks
Oh,
good.
you're doing WebJo with that? No, you're doing still Article 9, right?
oh, no, what do you need?
I think we're
We're done with
good.
Oh,
9.
okay.
Yeah, we're good. We're moving on.
So we changed 325 to 350.
Correct, okay.
WebJo,
And then the home rule petition, which we got from council, so that should be fine. And then the citizens petition, Article 12. So that's that. Okay?
Good job.
I want to keep these with me.
This one gets physically signed. Actually, both of them do, but
Yeah. It does. All right, so now let's look at this, Mary, in terms of,
so for the special, she could actually get that out, changing the 325 to 350.
you're gonna talk.
we don't have this.
Oh, I thought we said that that's the PEG thing?
Yeah, that's the funding. Actually, let's see.
Trying to get something out of here.
Hang on. Let's think about that.
About you talked about the PEG one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was running this past the auditor, DOR.
I mean, this can't be like something new. I mean, I'm sure other towns,
They have. I ripped off Article 7 language from another town in the first place. That's been all over the place.
And we thought $20,000 was gonna be the most we get for that? Is that right?
Oh, no, that was the revolving
Yep,
account. That's
revolving.
different.
Okay.
oh, excuse
That's gonna stay out and not be in PEG this
All
year.
right, why don't we take a shot at this so we can, let's see, to see if the town will authorize. Okay, so why don't we say this? To see if the town will authorize to be deposited in the PEG, quote-unquote, PEG access and cable-related fund all monies received for PEG and cable-related purposes under the franchise agreement. Okay, why don't we try that? At least we'll get something out there.
And give that to town council.
And give that to town council.
Okay.
I mean, it seems commonsensically as though that would do it.
Okay.
And then get that to him in the morning and see if we can get an okay on this, so at least we can get the STM, you can start production on the STM,
Uh-huh. Well, yeah.
Tell him it's incredibly important, and that bringing chocolate candy to town meeting will not
No, cut it.
cut it.
I've asked for an update on the McCully purchase and sale, and I've received crickets in response, so I
Okay.
just don't get response.
All right, let me see if I can call too, but, yeah, it's,
Tell him it's getting down to the wire.
I'm sure, they've got 30 towns saying that, or 40 towns saying that, but we gotta say it, so, okay?
All right, so when we go see FinCom, we're gonna talk about Articles 25 and 30, 33, 34, and 39.
Yep. Yep. And then,
You're not talking about 13? You're not talking about any more about the paving, that's done?
No, we
That's
took
done.
the paving
All right,
off.
that's
yeah,
out.
13 is out.
Well, I guess
25?
we should tell him remove 13.
Yep. So let's take that out and renumber so that you can get the,
So 25 is the copiers, 30 is the assessor's copiers,
right,
33 is the municipal highway building. They voted 0 to 4 against it, but now with the new way of borrowing, we're gonna ask them if they can if they wanna change their vote.
And
Mhm.
34.
And 34 is to confirm that it's a debt exclusion, not a capital exclusion.
mm-hmm,
And 39 is the $500 economic development group.
mm-hmm,
And that's it. That's all I have.
mm-hmm. Okay? So I think if you make those changes, Mary,
And the state's
you
willing
can,
to do
yeah,
it.
you can send it to them, because none of the things that we're talking to FinCom about are at all fancy about having to be reviewed by council,
Okay.
you know?
Yep, I can do that. Thank
All the stuff that is at all questionable or other things. All right?
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. Okay. So we've discussed, so we're at 2A, 2B, we pretty much discussed what we're going to talk to FinCom about on April 6th, correct?
Yep.
Town Hall elevator project, I don't know if we have anything, but I don't want to talk about it until I have some advice from council. Do we have anything? Because I had written to say we didn't need anything from the building inspector on that.
Oh, what, did you bounce over 2A?
C. He bounced over A.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
So-
They changed that
Yeah,
meeting date.
It's not even April
Yeah,
6th
okay.
anymore. It's the 12th, which is a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday? Next Tuesday.
Okay.
They're looking for a head count, so does anybody know if they can go to that?
Well, that is the same time as capital planning, is it not?
I would say
The second
probably no.
Tuesday of the month?
Oh.
All right, so,
So I don't,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
if
would
I
say
have to
no.
choose between
Just
the
say no.
two, I'm gonna
Just
go
say
to the
no.
FAC.
Just say no.
Okay.
And then we had already, and sorry, I went over that because we had been talking about the warrant and so on. C, the elevator project, did we get anything from Larry on that? Because I don't want to...
No, because you called it
Yeah, okay,
off.
it just
Yeah.
was on the list, so here, so it shouldn't be on here, okay.
So what is the next thing that you want to do on that?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Wiring inspector job description,
Looked good to me.
You've already approved that job
The
description.
job description is good, that we have to make a decision about how to pay them.
I would say we should bounce that one more week because it's getting late.
You want that re-agended for next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is E?
Oh.
Oops.
That's a good one. Where'd that go?
No, it's under.
The Region 2 Department of Public Health Emergency Response, they send out something and they're regularly testing everyone's response time. So they do all 3 Board of Health members, and the 4th contact for the town is the Selectmen's office, which worked great because I responded in 12 minutes when they sent out an email alert during business hours. But it doesn't work so well if they tried it on a Friday or any other time the office isn't manned.
So, wait a minute, public health emergency response, what is, like you say, people have
nothing-
measles and they call
If
everyone?
any reason they ever needed to activate a public emergency health response, they wanted to be able to notify the town. They
Okay,
first go through the 3 Board of Health members, and then the 4th contact is the town of Berlin. It's the Selectmen's office, the way it's set up right now.
I would say it should be either the fire,
Well, he's the MD.
Yeah, I would say the EMS chief.
Yep. Okay, so I'm,
Ask him.
okay.
And I agree with you, we should be copied, but
Yep.
okay,
And then just letting you know that the meeting for the 18th has to be moved to the 19th.
right. Okay, anything else to be brought before the meeting before we look at miscellaneous correspondence? Okay, hearing none, anything in the administrative correspondence?
let's see. What's a municipal hearing officer that we need?
No, I don't know that we need it, but the fire chief says we do.
Municipal hearing officer?
Someone who hears zoning, appeals on zoning and fire non-criminal tickets. So I put some
So what do we
information-
do with that now, if we don't have someone?
Well, I really don't know that you are ticketing on those things. I don't know that they ever are.
I don't think we have tickets, last I checked.
I don't think we participate in that citation process.
That could be.
So I would say, let us at some point after annual town meeting have the chief in to talk to us about that.
Okay.
Because we'll have a bunch of stuff in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes, we do.
Okay? Anything else?
Yeah, actually, on K, I lost some time today because I had a computer problem, but on K, Bruce said that he's not going to be serving. He does not continue to serve on as the alternate data systems coordinator or the forest warden.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I was gonna put a letter of thanks in
Why
front of
don't you do that?
for that.
Yep.
Yeah. But also on the forest warden thing, the fire chief responded by saying he felt that that automatically flows to the fire chief in any event, but it's your own separate appointment. So I'll get that for next week's meeting.
That would be fine.
Unappoint and then appoint.
That would be fine. Let's agenda that for next week. Yep. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, hearing nothing, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.